again, welcome to Ohio Valley Couponer. I'm coming at you guys with a coupon chat, story time, advice and opinion all wrapped up in one. I saw this news article from couponsandthenews.com. Phenomenal website. Check them out for sure. They post lots of good couponing news articles and stuff, so check that out. But I saw this article and I was like, man, I got to talk about this one. This actually took place in my state, so it hits kind of close to home that, wow, this is pretty wild that this happened in Ohio at a Kroger store. There's one of the stores I coupon at. It's like, whoa, it's pretty crazy. I don't think most of us will ever have an incident this extreme, but you know what? I can identify with coupons not working and it making the cashiers annoyed. I can identify with that because that happens to me. And I can understand how frustrating it is as a customer when you guys have a coupon advertised, a digital coupon, and it doesn't work, and you're just like, whatever, it's not going to work. So I can identify with that as a customer. As a cashier, I also can understand that they have been burned a lot of times with coupons, and they have had fake coupons and misuse of coupons, and that could reflect on them, The management will probably crack down on them for taking, wrong coupons and things. So I also get as a cashier the fear factor that comes into it, that I don't want to do something wrong and, risk my job or whatever. So I also get that in their perspective. So I honestly see how both sides could become frustrated. But the point here is it should have never escalated to the point that it escalated. Screaming and yelling at the store, cashier yelling at a customer yelling at a cashier, that's not going to solve anything. That's going to make things worse. And that's exactly what took place in this news article. So that's what we're going to go over here, just to kind of explain all that happened. So let's just dive deep into this news article. By the way, before I even get into this article, if either of the two are here, the cashier or the customer, feel free to comment if you have anything else you want people to know, like to add to the story. This is just the information that's available on Coupons in the News. It does give both kind of like perspectives from the cashier and the customer, like what they told the police. So that is really nice to have both perspectives. But starting out here with the customer, she went to the Kroger on this Monday. She told the police she is a frequent coupon user, and she said that she had been assaulted by a cashier after he got upset while ringing her up. So you guys to check out, I am going to add she did go to a regular like customer line. So she got a like cashier scanning her stuff. I myself typically prefer self-checkout because I am in control more. I can catch mistakes easier because I'm scanning at my own pace. With a cashier, I'm sure a lot of stores have quotas. I don't know if Kroger does, but like how many scans you need to do per minute. And, it slows their quota down if you have an issue with a price or something like that. So their thing is to hurry and scan. That's their thing. So I prefer to catch my errors before the end of the transaction. So a lot of times I will literally go through, scan, let's say I have an item that has a coupon. I'll scan that one item, hit pay now, see if the coupon goes off, and then I'll go back and scan the rest of the items. Because if I'm going to have an issue, I just like to get it fixed there before I go scanning everything else in. Now, I'm not saying she should have done that and that the cashier shouldn't have had to help her find if the coupons came off. That's totally not what I'm saying at all. She should have every right to be able to, scan everything in and then see the errors. But that's just what I've found to make for less hassle or drama with cashiers, is to do it that way. But anyways, she went and got her items rang in, and then she noticed her total was $44. She said to the cashier, no, that's not correct. She thinks her total should be $25 because she always adds up her order and does the math before she shops. That's actually a really good idea. So very smart. So she knew that something didn't work. She didn't think that her coupons had come off, so she asked him, and he said they did come off. And then she said, no, they didn't. So she's seeing on the screen that her coupons did not deduct. I am assuming that her coupons were digital because if they scanned her coupons, he would have physically scanned their coupons, so there would be no argument about them not coming off. So I'm assuming they're digital. So she is saying the coupons didn't work, but then the cashier starts arguing with her over the price, and I guess he got so mad he slammed his hands down on the conveyor belt. Then he shook a bag of chips over her. He got so mad he shook a bag of chips and then started cussing at her. The police then spoke with the cashier, who claimed that she is frequently a difficult customer, which may be true or may not be true. Is she difficult just because she's using coupons? Does she frequently argue with the store? Does she not use her coupons correctly? I mean, maybe she misunderstands the digitals. I don't know. Maybe she's the most difficult customer on planet Earth. I don't know, but it still doesn't give you the right to flip out like you did. The cashier also says that she insulted his abilities as a cashier while he was attempting to look at the correct sale price on her tortilla chips. If that is true, that is dead wrong as well. He was there trying to accommodate her to see what the correct price should have been. And if she's just there in his ear, like putting him down, acting like he's not good enough to be a cashier, like he's dumb or whatever and can't do this job, that is definitely not appropriate and should not have happened. That is what he says made him snap. So the police took these statements and then they went back to look at the store surveillance footage to see what actually happened. So the incident report describes a scene in which the customer and cashier debated the total until the customer requested the suspension of her order so another cashier could check her out. And that's when the cashier snapped. So what I'm wondering is, when he said it was insulting his abilities, did he find it insulting that she wanted to go to a different cashier? I don't know. The police are not saying that she said anything like so horrible on the footage to make him snap. They're saying she wanted to go to a different cashier. That's what made him snap, which, if that's the case, then bro, let her go here. Like, you're already frustrated with her because you said she's a difficult customer. She's arguing over the price you're saying. Let her go to someone else. If you're that annoyed with her, why would you be mad that she wants to go to a different cashier? I don't understand it. I would have, like, if that was the incident that I was in and I felt like the customer wasn't understanding me or whatever, sure, let her go to another cashier. And that way, you know, maybe they can deal with it better or something. I would not take that as an insult. So after all of that, the cashier slammed his hands downward on the chips and then he threw the bag of smashed chips past the customer, who then reacted by throwing a bag of frozen chicken. So the cashier straight up threw a bag of chips. It didn't hit the customer, but he threw it in her direction. No way. That is never okay. That is crazy. Even if this is the worst customer on earth, you cannot throw merchandise. Ugh, that is crazy. So no way. Then the customer threw a bag of chicken. She says in self-defense, she ended up assuming a boxer stance to defend herself, which the police do confirm. I mean, oh my gosh, this customer was, maybe she was being argumentative about getting the right price, but he took it physical and started throwing things in her direction. No way, never an excuse for that. They continued yelling at each other, and I'm like, to the customer at this point, walk away. Why are you still there? She wanted to turn him into the police, but I would have literally just left my items there and just went to the car, stayed in the Kroger parking lot and called the police and waited until they showed up. But no, she stayed in there. The cashier finally walked away, but then a few minutes later, they start arguing and yelling again at the customer service. It's like, ugh, this is crazy. When I've had an encounter with a cashier, nothing like this at all, but if a cashier, has told me like, oh, you can only use one coupon if it says one per purchase, I politely will try to say, oh, that's actually not true. Here's why. If they won't listen, I'm not going to stand there and argue back and forth. If I really want the item, I would ask for them to get a manager. That is exactly what should have happened. Either the cashier should have said that, oh, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to go ahead and get the customer service manager, the floor supervisor, whatever they call them, to come over here and help us with this. Or even the general manager. Or if he really thought she was a threat, if she was like threatening and rude, he could have called one of the security people to do something, Sitting there and fighting back and forth was not smart. Honestly, the customer did try going to somebody else. She didn't request a manager, though, which I think would have been the right thing to do. But she was trying to get away from the situation and go to another cashier. And then that made this cashier mad. I can honestly say, no matter what question she had, or even if she was insulting, that is when the cashier should have took matters into management's hands. Literally, he could have just de-escalated it by saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get a floor supervisor over here and they can take a look at it. They might know more than me, something like that. I know it sucks, but I think it just would have made this situation a whole lot better. I kind of feel bad for him in a way because this one moment of anger could have ruined his career. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the guy got to keep his job or not, but his picture's on the internet. People can see him and they'll recognize him at the Kroger, I'm sure. So, yeah, what a situation. I would love to hear your thoughts down below. Moral of the story is, if you're a couponer, I do not recommend standing there and arguing things with the cashier. Politely explain your point. If they won't listen to you, say, hey, can we maybe get a manager or customer service over here to take a look at it? But if they're going to be rude and belligerent to you, it's not worth it. I would just void it and leave. That's honestly what I would do. Yeah, I'm all about saving money, but it's not like you don't want to risk your life in the process. So anyways, guys, that's all I got. Hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching.